What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to be going over some tips and tricks to help you succeed and do well in the Swole Club challenge and Animation Throwdown. First up, I want to show off the training that I've been working on for my deck here. I'm running an all-robot fry deck, so I am training up Leela for that Futurama HP buff there. I'm also going to be training up Ricky Spanish there to get the sturdy wall. So my next step on him there was to get him up to 100% with that next level there to buff that up. After that, there's of course Gene for the craze to help me get my attack up over the edge. I'm going to be trying to train that up to 100%. Later levels, I'm probably going to want to take that up higher, closer to the 250 if I can get it there. Also going to want to train up that leech to protect myself so I can keep my card wall standing strong and not get taken out. So my next step on that for Bob will be to take that up to 100%. I did start training Zap Brannigan there too, just because at level 5 he does have an increase to the Futurama attack by 25% for all of the cards, so that's going to help me out for the damage I'm doing. And it also is a nice little buff to motivate because a lot of the cards I'm running for the pre-combos have motivate in there, so it's good extra little support to be doing some damage in there. I also have plans to train up Bender at some point, because if I take him up to level 3, that's going to be another 25% increase to Futurama attack, which will give me a whopping total of a 50% increase base attack before anything else is even added in there. So that's more or less my plans for who I'm training and what I'm working with for my deck. So we'll be starting this video out at level 49. So here are some tips and tricks to help you succeed in this challenge in the game. First and foremost, it's important to remember that this challenge, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. What you see a lot of every time Swole Club rolls around is day 1, you see people blowing gems left and right on refills to climb the leaderboards right away, and that's such a waste of money for a couple reasons. One, if you get too far ahead too quickly, the AI is going to start outpacing you and you're going to have to spend even more money on speed ups on your training there in order to be able to keep up. On top of that, it's not really set on a way where you can tie in Swole. It's just based on whoever reaches whatever level first, and wherever it ends at on the last day, that's the ranking you're getting. So it's not really important where you're ending up early on, it's where you end at the very end that matters the most. So the only ones you really have to play right away is that very last day early on as soon as it resets. Everything else is sort of just a waste. It's better to do a slow climb and kind of gain momentum near the end than just burn out in the very beginning of it. Another important distinction this time around on Swole, really quick before we go on to the next tip, if you look here, this is actually an annoying bug that was encountered this Swole by a lot of players. It would constantly freeze the game on the last card played on some levels there, and when you try to go back into the game, it reloads from fresh and the match is over. As you can see here though, I did end up getting that win. We did advance a level, so it didn't just burn my energy and give me a loss, which is good because that would have been really annoying. But it's still annoying that it's even a thing, because this is a big event that a lot of players spend a lot of money on. The fact that it's broken from the get-go, it's just really shitty. So not the greatest look on the developers for that. Anyways, back to my next tip for the game. This time around, the training time for your heroes was halved, which was pretty cool compared to the other ones, other Swoles in the past. You were able to get your training done that much quicker. The downside though is while they did halve the training time, they did nothing to the coins that drop from your victories. So in a sense, it still made it hard and made it necessary to spend, which is kind of shady in its own right there on the developers. So what you really need to do and what's really important is you really need to get a couple heroes trained early on day 1 to at least level 2 to increase your percentage of the coins dropped for training there, because it's going to be really necessary later on to get that training done, because some of those costs are really expensive at later levels and you're going to need that boost unless you plan on spending a shit ton of gems to refill and get more hits just to get those in. So another pro tip on that. My next big one gameplay-wise is try to make a deck based around only one show if possible, and focus training on the HP and attack for that show. That's kind of what I'm doing here with this Futurama deck for Robot Fry. It's the most cost-effective way to go on that. If you branch out to too many different shows, you're kind of spreading yourself thin, and unless you're going to spend a lot of money to research all of those shows, in the later levels you're going to be kind of needing that extra health and damage and you're not going to have it. So definitely a big focus there. There are quite a few that have some good overlaps. Futurama is kind of a harder one to run because there's one hero for Leela for the HP and then a bunch of others for the attacks, whereas other shows, for example like Bob's Burgers, there's overlap where some of the ones that give you HP also give you the attack. So there are other shows that work well together. Futurama is just a little bit of a harder one in there. Another good thing to focus on is certain skills. Crazed is absolutely necessary, especially at the later levels. You're going to need that to get your attack over the edge to overcome those enemy cards to get that win. Without it, they're going to outpace you and just demolish you. On top of that, it's 100% necessary to have skills that are going to protect your card line so you can get that win while you craze. So for example, with my Robot Fry there, I'm using the Sturdy skill and the Leech skill to kind of block damage and also heal back up. Some other really good ones that work would be stuff with Cripple and Bodyguard to protect your cards. A lot of players run the Freezer Dome Gene combo for that reason. The Cripple protects you from taking damage, and if you build a whole Cripple wall out there, you're pretty much eliminating almost all the damage you'd be taking, so you don't really need to leech back up. And the Bodyguard helps protect you from errant bombs and gas and stuff like that to keep your card line alive, and of course that combo has Crazed. A couple skills that aren't really as good as you would think. Punch and Gas. They work really great early game, but at the later levels, they're not really doing you much any good because of how much HP the enemy cards have, and all it takes is the higher levels to have one card with Bodyguard. The boost that they get, it's insane, and you will not be able to catch up before they end you. So they're great early game, but late game, not so much. That's not really going to help you out too much there. You're better off with Craze and stuff that's going to be protecting you. Another fun tip for you here, if you ever hit a wall where you just can't seem to quite overcome the opponent, you can drop down to a lower level and play the earlier levels that you've already beaten. It'll make the difficulty easier for you to win, and when you win, you earn the Swole tickets for whatever the highest level you last beat. You earn that same bonus in tickets. So if you need to farm more tickets to do more training to help you beat your current level, that's an excellent way to go. Me personally, I didn't take my first loss until level 66, and then again at 69. I hit my first hard wall at 79. I spent a couple days at that one, so once you get to those higher levels, you're definitely going to want to drop down and collect those tickets to help you get some really solid training in there. And finally, once you reach above level 80 to 90 in that area, at that point, it's pretty much more or less nothing but RNG from there on out. It's all dependent on what cards they're playing and if they're comboing you, because it's going to be pretty insane buffs at that level. The only way you can kind of compete with that without relying on RNG is spending a shit ton of money on getting your heroes trained to an obnoxious level. Oh, and speaking of your hero training, by the way, in case you didn't know, you can only train your heroes up to the level that you currently have them actually at in the game. So for example, if you want to train up the Leela, if you don't have her higher than, say, for example, level 10 in your game, you can't train her in Swole higher than that level. So you do need to have your characters at those specific levels for those trainings. Anyways, these were just a few couple tips and tricks to help you guys succeed in the Swole Challenge and do a little bit better. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, please be sure to click that like button. And if you're new to the channel or haven't already, be sure to subscribe and click that little bell icon to get notified of new uploads as soon as they go live. Thanks again, guys. Till next time. Peace.